Whew, it's been a hot minute since we've done this. It's okay. It's like riding a bike, except I'm terrible at biking. Bad metaphor choice. Hi, my name is Alex. I'm a patchwork nerd, and it's been a long time since I have done one of these. Had a conversation with you guys, or the camera, or whatever. We've got a lot of catching up to do, so let's just dive into it before I become a rambling mess. This whole video is going to be a rambling mess. I apologize in advance. In case you just follow my channel and have no idea what's going on in my life, or you missed my one announcement video, back a while ago I announced that I was pregnant, and I have since had that baby. That's how long this has been. I just wanted to catch up with you guys about what's going on in my life and the reason why I kind of took a hiatus unintentionally from all of this. And I apologize ahead of time. The title that I have in mind for this video is probably going to come across as really clickbaity, but it's actually as accurate to the reasons why I haven't been making videos and haven't really been creating much. And so we're gonna get into that right away. So let's start with the baby portion. I gave birth to my darling, adorable, amazing son. His name is Arthur Wallace Van Horn, and I gave birth to him on December 11th. It was just shy of being midnight. It was like 11:25 at night after 2 hours of very extensive pushing and a very rough day. So we're gonna start from the beginning. I had a pretty routine pregnancy, a few bumps in the road as far as like some issues with my thyroid that kind of leveled themselves off, as well as some fatigue problems, a little bit of morning sickness, but nothing compared to some of the horror stories I've heard about morning sickness. Overall, my pregnancy was going really smooth. The second trimester was awesome. I had lots of energy. I felt good. I had a cute little bump. And then the third trimester just came crashing into my lap. I remember distinctly the Friday before the event that we're going to chat about today, my coworker asked me how I was doing, and I remember saying that this has actually been a pretty tame pregnancy, all things considered, and I have no right to complain, and I feel pretty good. And I totally jinxed myself. That weekend, I had my baby shower with my side of the family. We had two separate baby showers just because our families are so big. I remember feeling kind of bloated, for lack of a better word. I was starting to notice swelling, and I was like, oh, okay. I hadn't had any swelling before that. So I was thinking, okay, it's finally time for me to get the swollen ankles and the swollen hands and the swollen feet. It's finally hitting that stage. It was right about to be my third trimester, or it might have already been my third trimester at that point. I get the weeks mixed up, but it was right during that weekend. I remember feeling just really like tightness. I was wearing riding boots and my legs felt distinctly swollen. I was like, okay, here we go. And I was on my feet a lot for the shower, so I was like, okay, maybe I just pushed it a lot, and my feet were very distinctly swollen. But the next day, I remember looking at my feet. Something seemed kind of weird about them. I tried not to overthink it. I Googled unusual swelling a little bit, realized that I was going to totally overthink things if I continued searching, so I kind of stopped that. That Monday, I remember my feet were still very swollen. Like, I had sent pictures to my mom and my sisters, and they were like, wow, your feet are really swollen. But that Monday, I had noticed the swelling had gone down. So I was showing my feet to my husband, and he's like, oh yeah, the swelling did go down, except the right foot's still much more swollen than the left foot. And I remember thinking, that's weird that he knows that, because my husband is very chill when it comes to medical things, and he doesn't usually notice stuff like that. Him catching that just made me feel like, wait a minute, it's not just in my head. The right foot is more swollen than the left foot. I went to work that day, and I just remember feeling kind of off, and I remember I was wearing these ankle boots that lace up. They're my pair of boots that I always wear, and they were really uncomfortable. Like, I had to undo the laces. I was like, okay, this is just pregnancy swelling. I undid the laces a bunch, but I noticed the left foot, I let them out just a little bit, and I felt relief. While the right foot, I kept letting the laces out and letting the laces out and letting the laces out. Max capacity was reached as far as letting them out without taking the laces off, and my foot still felt really jammed. So I took a picture in the bathroom of my feet, and I sent them to my sister, and she just looked at my feet and she's like, Al, I feel like, that's really odd. I think you should call your doctor. Something just doesn't seem right about this. I messaged my doctor and I was having troubles getting a hold of her, and it was just eating away at me. So I ended up calling the nurse's hotline. She eventually came to the conclusion, we think you should come in. We want you to come into urgent care. When can you be here? We'll let them know that you're coming. And I was like, what? So I ended up leaving work early, and I ended up driving to the hospital and going into urgent care. I was trying so hard to be optimistic the whole time. I'm like, this is just a precaution. Of course they have to tell me to come in because I was showing certain symptoms that were kind of making them nervous. And I'm like, okay, this is fine. They have to do this. This is a formal thing. It's fine. It's gonna be nothing. So I ended up having to be in the ER. My mom ended up coming and sitting with me, and then my husband got off of work and he ended up coming. And I just remember distinctly apologizing to my mom and my husband, saying that I was so sorry that this was getting blown up and it was not gonna be anything. I felt silly. I felt like I needed to apologize to the doctors and nurses for wasting their time. They weren't like shrugging me off or anything, but you could tell they were a little bit like, okay, she's a first-time pregnant lady, she's just concerned, this is routine. Like, I remember the nurse from the OB came down and was doing a scan to make sure the baby was okay, and he was doing awesome. And she was just so optimistic. She wasn't blowing me off by any means, but she was just like, this is gonna be fine, everything's gonna be fine. Fun fact, she actually ended up being my nurse on the day I delivered, and she was ridiculously sweet. I met with the doctor, and he was very like, yeah, we're gonna do some tests, and you know, we're just gonna check some things. They ended up sending me to get an ultrasound, not of the baby, but of my legs. The main concern was whether or not I had a blood clot, because unusual swelling, and this was one of the things I saw when I was Googling, and that's when I told myself I need to stop Googling, was that it could be a sign of having a blood clot. I think they were so blasé about it because I didn't have any of the other big signs. I wasn't a high risk patient. Everything I was doing was not a red flag for a blood clot. It just wasn't. I wasn't having like a bad headache. I wasn't having any pain in my legs, but they're like, okay, we just gotta rule this out. So they sent me down, and it was getting pretty late at this point. Like, I think it was like 8 o'clock or something. And I remember my husband came into the ultrasound room with me, and we were trying to be quiet so that the tech gal could do her work, and she didn't seem like she really wanted to have a conversation, and we're like, okay, we're gonna just be quiet and let her work. But I remember looking over, my husband's sitting quietly in the corner, and he starts nodding and trying not to fall asleep because he was just exhausted from work. And plus, the hospital makes you exhausted. I don't know if anybody else has that, but I'm sitting there trying not to fall asleep too. I think it was also just kind of coming down from the stress of all of it. They did that test, and then we went back to the room that they had me in, and I remember having a conversation with my mom and my husband. Me and my husband were trying to figure out where we were gonna go to dinner after that. We're like, okay, we're gonna just go pick something up, or we're just gonna run to a local burger joint or something and just make that our treat for getting through all of this. Oh, that didn't happen. So what did happen was the doctor came in, and he was smiling. I was like, okay, he's gonna tell me that I am perfectly fine and send me on my way. And he looks at me and he says, you have a blood clot? Like, he said it like it was a question, like he didn't believe it himself. And I remember just being like, oh, okay. And my mom and my husband were both just like, what? None of us actually thought that it was gonna be happening. I had one in my lower right leg. I wasn't actually supposed to have anything. I was supposed to be fine. This was supposed to just be me being paranoid. It turns out I had a DVT, a deep vein thrombosis. I might be saying it wrong. It was the blood clot. And he's like, okay, we have treatment for this. There is a pill that you can take, but it hasn't been proven to be safe while you're pregnant. So instead you're gonna have to go on Lovenox. And I'm like, cool. What's Lovenox? Oh, did I learn what Lovenox is? So he's like, well, you're going to have to do injections once a day. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? He's like, you're going to have to do shots of blood thinners. And I'm like, oh no. Because one thing to know about me is I do not like needles. I do not like, I do not like getting my blood drawn. I do not like seeing things go into my body. Like, I don't like any of that. And he's like, well, you're gonna have to go on Lovenox. I think it's just gonna be once a day though, so that's gonna be, you know, pretty easy. And I'm just like, okay. Turns out he was wrong. It was Lovenox twice a day. I had to immediately start doing shots in the morning and in the evening, and that was difficult. The nurse came in, she was talking me through how to give myself a shot, and I'm sitting there just like turning into a puddle of panic. At that point, they had cleared that the baby was okay, I was okay, but I needed to go on this treatment immediately. I was automatically upped to a high-risk pregnancy. At the same time, there was so little time to worry and panic because it's like, okay, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this. Maybe I should take tomorrow off to just kind of get my head around all of this, but my work was actually throwing me a baby shower that day. The next day, not the day that I found out about the blood clot, but it was also my birthday the next day. So they were throwing me a baby shower, it was my birthday, and I had to immediately start giving myself shots twice a day. Guys, I'm gonna just put in this little trigger warning. I'm gonna talk a little bit about shots and about Lovenox, so I'm gonna leave a little timestamp right here if you want to skip past that whole talk about shots and all of that, because I can't blame you. I can't blame you if you don't want to hear about shots. Fast forward to the next morning, I went over to my mom's to try to do my first shot by myself. They did my shot at the hospital. The initial one is shots in the abdomen. And with a pregnant belly, that complicates things because your skin is much tighter than it normally would be. It was trying to find a spot to do the shot. It was trying to build up the confidence to do the shot. So I was sitting there bawling my eyes out because I hate shots. I just couldn't. My mom was on the phone with my sister and she was in the area running errands, and she's like, Mom, I'm coming over. And she just like stormed into the room and she's like, Mom, you're gonna give her the shot. Al, look at me. I'm going to talk you through this. Like, we're gonna do some visualization stuff and you just bury your head in my shoulder and we're gonna do this. So my mom gave me my first shot and it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad at all, but I was so just like amped up at that point. But my sister and my mom were just amazing. My sister brought me cupcakes for my birthday, and then it ended up being that my amazing, amazing husband has been giving me my shots ever since, and I don't know what I would do without him. I don't think I would be able to do these shots. I just get so in my own head about them. Long story short, that was scary, but the clot is gone officially now. I went from having to do Lovenox twice a day to when they found that the blood clot was gone, I only had to do it once a day, and then before I had the baby, I switched to another blood thinner called heparin because Lovenox has a 24-hour life cycle and it eliminates your ability to get something like an epidural because it can cause bleeding on the spine, which can lead to paralysis. And heparin is only in your system for 12 hours, so it gives you more of a buffer in case your water breaks and you need to go to the hospital and take care of all that stuff and you need an epidural. I ended up being induced, so then we could time things out. That's a different story for a different day. I was dealing with a lot and I just kind of checked out as far as my creative pursuits went, as far as making videos go. Anything beyond trying to just function and get through my pregnancy. That was my bare minimum. This is what I gotta focus on right now. And I was trying to be off my feet, but also be on my feet enough to keep my blood flowing. It was a very busy couple of months leading up to when I gave birth to my son, so that's where I've been. The whole time I missed making videos, I missed writing. I've made my list of things I want to accomplish for 2020 and I think I'll make a video about that. That's where I've been, and that's why you guys have not had regular content, but I'm ready to get back into it. I'm on maternity leave right now and you think, oh, then you've got lots of time. I have a newborn and he just turned a month old like a week ago, and it's been just non-stop baby, like tons of things, and I'm exclusively pumping, so that's been eating up a bunch of my schedule, but I'm trying to figure it out and I'd like to share that with you guys. Of course, I want to make my writing videos again and I want to share all of that experience with you guys, especially because I'm hoping to query this year. Having a baby kind of threw the entire schedule off, and then all the health problems really just tossed everything out the window. I'm hoping to get back on track with my own personal creative pursuits while balancing my new responsibilities as a mom. I love being a mom. This has been an amazing journey. I'm excited to see how I can balance all of it. And there are some days where I literally can barely function, like the fact that I put on pants is my accomplishment for the day. So I'm also going to give myself a lot of grace and patience. There's a lot I'm juggling right now, and I hope you guys will enjoy watching that journey. I'm not becoming becoming a mom vlogger per se or anything like that. It's more just gonna be me trying to share my journey with you guys. I am really excited for what 2020 will bring. I hope you guys will stick around, and if you're new to my channel and want to keep up with all of this craziness, maybe consider hitting that happy little subscribe button down below. I used to post videos regularly on Monday. Whether or not that schedule and that momentum is going to keep up is going to be for us to discover along the way. I want to thank you guys so much for following this journey and for being patient with me. Oh, I can't wait to see what happens this year. So until I see you next time, remember, keep writing or keep creating, keep laughing, because there's a lot to laugh about when you turn into a parent. And most importantly, please keep encouraging each other. I really need some encouragement down below. As a matter of fact, if you want to leave some advice on parenting or keeping your sanity when you're balancing a lot, leave that down below. And I will see you guys next time. Toodles!